Coming up on this edition of Reel to Reel, we will visit North Adams, where a 35-year-old program has been helping the city's homeless population. Kathy Harrington brings us the story of Lewison House.
I'm Steve Kiltonick in Longmeadow. As we celebrate Veterans Day next Tuesday, St. Mary's remembers a World War II aviator and his crew.
And we bring you part 2 of our Catholic Communications Jubilee Year pilgrimage to Italy. These stories and more are just ahead on Reel to Reel. Hello and welcome to Reel to Reel. A growing hunger crisis is now a reality across our nation as the federal government shutdown has impacted the SNAP assistance program, which helps to feed 41.8 million people, many who are infants and children. Bishop William Byrne visited the St. Vincent de Paul Outreach Center at St. Mary's Parish in Westfield on Thursday, where he announced an initiative in cooperation with Catholic Charities to address this food shortage. Nick Morganelli reports.
The Food Bank of Western Massachusetts reports that each month an average of more than 124,000 people across our 4 counties receive emergency food assistance. At the St. Vincent de Paul Society Food Pantry in Westfield, volunteers say they've seen up to a 3-fold increase in people seeking help in recent weeks. That growing need prompted Bishop William Byrne to take action.
Today we gather as a diocesan family to unite in faith, compassion, in love for our neighbor.
Bishop Byrne says the Catholic community is answering the call to serve, one food item at a time.
Each can of food, each box of macaroni, each one of these is a symbol, a sign of love. And that's what we are called to do, is to bring love to the world. So our Catholic Charities Agency, through its Going Where the Need Is mobile food program, will be coordinating and assisting this work of the parishes.
Catholic Charities Agency Director Shana Rodriguez says the need extends across Western Massachusetts.
And we need to step up together and meet that need together. We need to be doing what we're called to do by the gospel, by Jesus.
Pantries can also take donations of toiletries, baby formula, diapers, and pet food. Some facilities have refrigeration for perishables, but essential non-perishables are key.
Canned tuna, canned salmon, pasta sauce. It's really important to remember that a lot of our families are in transition.
If you look here on the shelves, you see all the soups and the raviolis and things are all things that one could open without having to have an elaborate kitchen. We just want to let every parish do what it's doing best, and parishes that maybe aren't doing it as well, to heighten their awareness, to say now's an opportunity to begin. And it's as easy as getting a big box and putting it at the entrance of the church. Our awareness is to say it's not just the big times where we might remember how blessed we are and we want to share, but the everyday people need to eat.
You can do your part. Drop off food or monetary donation at your local pantry or parish, or email Catholic Charities at diospringfield.org for a pickup. Working to end food insecurity in Western Massachusetts, for Reel to Reel, I'm Nick Morganelli.
And that crisis is impacting communities across Western Massachusetts, including in Berkshire County. North Adams, located in the northern region of the Berkshires, is known for the spectacular fall foliage, and recently it was named one of the 9 best New England towns to retire comfortably. With a population of under 13,000 and homes selling at an average price of $248,000, far below the state's median sale price of $624,000, this historic mill town looks idyllic. But like most communities, it faces the challenges of homelessness. For 35 years now, a program has been in place to help the city's homeless population. Kathy Harrington brings us the story now of Lewison House.
I've lived here basically my entire life.
Tevin Powell knows well the challenges of housing in North Adams. But now he says he's on solid footing, thanks to Lewison House.
When I was growing up when it was just me and my mother, we had a lot of trouble with keeping homes growing up throughout my whole life.
26-year-old Powell serves on the Advisory Council for Lewison House, a North Adams agency offering emergency, transitional, and supportive housing services.
There was a time when I was younger, when it was just me and my mother, when I was in elementary school, we had a lot of trouble with homelessness. We used to stay up at the Lewison House up in Adams.
From a distance, North Adams is a quaint little town featuring the Hoosick River, known for tourism, and of course, the foliage.
It's always been an less isolated community, less employment. And there's always employment, but it doesn't have big paying, high paying jobs except the colleges.
With less than 13,000 residents, it's been a town on a population decline, having reached its peak of 24,200 in 1900. Gone are the mills and factories that provided a livable wage for their workers. The final largest employer closed in the mid-'80s, and 4,000 people moved to find work elsewhere.
Looking at, the pay scale out here and what's a livable wage, and transportation and things like that make it so hard and expensive here. And the housing costs are getting as high as other areas, while the wages don't come anywhere near.
In the wake of job loss was an increase in housing instability and homelessness. Taking action, the community and a coalition of agencies worked together. A 100-year-old mansion in Adams was transformed into Terry's Place, transitional housing for families. In 2022, Flood House in North Adams was opened to provide additional housing. Lewison is the only housing agency in northern Berkshire County. After 35 years, it has served over 10,000 people, including families. Now increasingly, its clients are the elderly and the youth. Plenty to celebrate on a sunny September day for the grand opening of the Bracewell Youth Housing Project. Paperwork, planning, and labor turned this vacant house into 6 efficiency apartments for youth ages 18 to 24.
We put in most of the youth that were needing to come at the time that we knew of. There's starting to be a new waiting list. They need to have a period of a year's worth of homelessness, either straight in a row or over the past 3 years.
Residents in the supportive housing have an agreement with Lewison House to work on goals to eventually earn the income needed to support them in permanent housing. In North Adams, I'm Kathy Harrington for Reel to Reel.
And Lewison House is looking to obtain a permanent site for emergency housing for the homeless. And if you have not made your annual gift to the annual Catholic Appeal, it's not too late. We have a link at diospringfield.org. Now we take you to Westfield, where members of the Psalm 33 Music Ministry sang their hearts out in October, holding a concert at Our Lady of the Blessed Sacrament Parish in Westfield for Bethlehem House. Psalm 33, a ministry which started at Blessed Sacrament, provides music ministry across the diocese, inspiring people to draw closer to Christ. Carolee McGrath has more.
On a recent Sunday, Psalm 33 Music Ministry held a concert for life. The concert was in honor of Bethlehem House, a pregnancy care center in East Hampton, which walks with women facing a crisis pregnancy and provides practical support by giving out free baby clothes, diapers, wipes, and other baby essentials. Pam Hibbard is the longtime director. So these are young people that wanted to hold a concert because it's Respect Life Month. That's pretty special?
Oh, yes, definitely. Definitely. It's good to see the youth on board, and more people. I think the younger people are coming on board, so it's really good to see that with the ministry.
Psalm 33 plays contemporary praise and worship music and leads music at the diocesan youth rallies, youth retreats, Faith on Fire, Chalice Masses, and other events. In June, they held a concert for Harmony House, another pro-life ministry.
I think it was important because it's a pro-life ministry, and it's a little bit different than our last charity concert we did, because this is kind of like the beginning of life pro-life ministry, whereas the other one was more like end-of-life care. So I think it's important to kind of show how we support all spectrums of pro-life ministries.
Sarah Moriarty, who plays the keyboard, banjo, and sings, has been with the group since middle school. Sarah is a junior at UMass.
I am not alone. I am not alone. You will go before me. You will never leave me.
The group sang popular songs like Rest on Us and I Thank God. Psalm 33 is certainly a perfect name for this music ministry because they sing joyfully to the Lord. When you hear them, you can tell they're singing from the heart and with the help of the Holy Spirit, trying to spread that goodness of God. In Psalm 33, David writes, "Sing joyfully to the Lord," and that's exactly what they do. Tom Fucci, who plays guitar, is the director of the group. He's also a parishioner at Our Lady of the Blessed Sacrament.
They were excellent tonight. These kids are just so talented, and their gift to this parish, to this diocese, it's unbelievable the talent that they have.
A free will offering during the concert netted $1,200 for Bethlehem House. Reporting for Reel to Reel in Westfield, I'm Carolee McGrath.
They are such talented kids, and we really enjoy having them as our music ministers on the Chalice of Salvation. They will also be providing music for the upcoming Catholic Women's Conference, which is next Saturday, November 15th at Bellamy School in Chicopee. It's not too late to sign up, and we have a link for that at diospringfield.org. We continue now with our Jubilee Year pilgrimage to Italy. Back in July, Father Gary Daly, rector of St. Michael's Cathedral, led our Catholic Communications pilgrimage. In part 2 of the series, the pilgrims visit San Giovanni Rotondo, a popular spiritual site linked to the life and works of St. Padre Pio, the modern-day saint who bore the stigmata of Christ.
We continue our spiritual journey along the Adriatic Sea to the beautiful town of San Giovanni Rotondo in the province of Foggia and a region of Apulia in southeastern Italy. Hundreds of thousands of pilgrims come to this sacred place where St. Padre Pio lived from September 1916 until his death in September 1968. Next to the monastery rises the old church of Santa Maria della Grazia, Our Lady of Grace, consecrated in 1629. In this small church, with a capacity for about 80 people, Padre Pio celebrated Mass and heard confessions. It was here that St. Pio received the sign of the visible stigmata in 1918. As Padre Pio gained notoriety for his stigmata, the church became too small to accommodate all the pilgrims who came to get a glimpse of him and to get his blessing. Construction of a new, much larger church was started adjacent to the old church in July 1956. It was inaugurated in July 1959. The main altar of the new church originally had a mosaic depicting only Our Lady of Grace. But after St. Pio of Pietrelcina was canonized in 2002, a figure of St. Pio and an angel in the clouds was added to the design. The basement of the new church served as the crypt for the body of St. Pio from his death until April 2010, when his remains were placed in a new metallic coffin and transferred to the crypt of the St. Pio Pilgrimage Church. The new sanctuary was commissioned by the Order of Capuchin Friars Minor and conceived by the world-renowned architect Renzo Piano. The church can seat up to 6,500 people with an additional space for 10,000 people standing. Finally opened after 10 years of construction and also known as the Church of St. Pio, the new sanctuary was almost entirely financed by the offerings of pilgrims. It was dedicated on July 1st, 2004. It is in the crypt area of this church where the incorrupt body of St. Padre Pio is on display for pilgrims to see and pray before. We're here in the crypt of the new basilica in San Giovanni Rotondo. This is where the incorrupt body of St. Padre Pio is displayed, and people come here to pray before his body and for his intercession. And so this is a very powerful moment for many of our pilgrims who have a devotion to Padre Pio, to be in the presence of his incorrupt body. And so it's a great blessing today that we're sharing in being present here. One of the great blessings in San Giovanni is the Hospital of St. Pio, the home for relief of the suffering, known throughout the world. The intention of St. Pio was to create a structure which alleviated the suffering of the sick, to give comfort and solidarity to a person crushed by pain and suffering, both physical and psychological. We now drive a short distance to Monte San Angelo in Gargano. It is a large limestone cave that was a site of pagan worship in Greek and Roman times. This has become a huge pilgrimage destination because it is the place where St. Michael the Archangel appeared in bodily form. The story is that around the year 490, a wealthy nobleman was searching for a bull that had wandered from his herd on the slopes of the mountain. He found it stuck in the entrance to a cave. Angry at the bull for being unmanageable, he tried to have it shot with an arrow by a servant, but somehow the arrow came back and struck the archer himself. The nobleman went to the bishop and told him the strange events. The bishop, sensing something supernatural, ordered 3 days of prayer and penance. At the end of the third day, St. Michael appeared to the bishop saying, "I am Michael the Archangel, and I will that this place be worshipped in earth and will have it surely kept. And therefore I have proved that I am keeper of this place by the events that have taken place." The bishop led a procession to the cave to thank St. Michael, but he did not enter, still unwilling to claim the cave for Michael since the place had been considered sacred by local pagans. The Holy Father told him to occupy the cave and to consecrate it a church. St. Michael appeared to the bishop again. This time, he explained that it was not necessary to consecrate the cave, as it had already been consecrated by St. Michael's presence. The bishop entered and found an altar covered with a red cloth with a crystal cross on top. He had a church built at the front of the cave and dedicated it to St. Michael on September 29, 493. The region took the name of St. Michael, and the sanctuary became one of the 4 major pilgrimage sites in all of Europe for centuries. St. Francis of Assisi did not feel worthy to enter, but prayed for 30 days and nights outside the cave. Later, St. Padre Pio would send people needing deliverance from evil spirits to the cave, and they were healed. The cave has been visited by pilgrims, kings, queens, popes, and saints ever since. Stones of St. Michael's cave are still distributed today, both as general sacramentals and as relics, especially to help against the demonic. We leave San Giovanni Rotondo and proceed to the west side of Italy and make our first stop at the famous Benedictine monastery of Monte Cassino. The Abbey of Monte Cassino was founded by St. Benedict around 529 AD. The monastery, as we see it today, is a complete rebuild after the Second World War and 4 months of relentless destruction from January 17th to May 18th, 1944. So many explosives fell on the site that the hilltop is now many feet lower than St. Benedict would have remembered it. The tremendous views from the top of the mountain look out over the beautiful Frosinone plain, but are broken as the eye picks out the various war cemeteries on the facing slopes, in particular the Polish cemetery where many Polish soldiers died in the war. We're standing here in the courtyard as about to enter into the Abbey Church, where we will visit the tombs of both St. Benedict and his sister, St. Scholastica. It was here, at the Monte Cassino Monastery, that Saint Benedict composed the Rule of Saint Benedict, which governs all Benedictine communities throughout the world today.
And join us again next week as the pilgrims travel to Rome for the Jubilee year, visiting major basilicas and passing through the holy doors. Finally, as we approach Veterans Day this coming Tuesday, we take you to Longmeadow, where for the last 20 years, the Mary Immaculate Chapel at St. Mary's Church has served as a spiritual sanctuary for parishioners. Its origins are linked to a World War II aviator who perished over the Pacific in the final days of the war. Steve Kiltonick has the story now of First Lieutenant William Reith and one parishioner's dedication to keeping his memory alive.
On September 8th, a miraculous Medal Novena Mass was held at St. Mary's in Longmeadow to honor a fallen World War II aviator and his crewmates. None of the men has any connection to parishioners of St. Mary's or anyone else in the Springfield Diocese. However, one crew member has ties to St. Mary's Mary Immaculate Chapel that goes back 21 years. In 2004, Noreen Tulaski, the chair of the Spiritual Life Committee, had the idea of converting a room that once held the church's baptismal font into a chapel.
It was pretty much just used as storage, and I just had the idea that we didn't have a life-size in-color statue of Mary, and yet it was her, the church was named after her.
She approached Father Francis Riley, the pastor, with her plan.
And at first he said no, and then I said, could you please think about it, Father Riley?
Noreen searched unsuccessfully for 9 months to find the right statue for the chapel. Desperate, she asked Our Lady to intercede. In the summer of 2005, Noreen was in Boston visiting her mother.
But the night before, I had prayed to the Blessed Mother, Mary, I can't find you. You're going to have to find me. Could you put a rush on it and just make the eyes of the statue beautiful?
The very next day in Boston, Noreen spoke to her aunt, Sister Barbara Ann Curran, a daughter of charity of St. Vincent de Paul. The previous week, Sister Barbara was visiting a friend, Sister Donna Smith, at the Daughter of Charity Convent in Syracuse.
She said the most beautiful statue of Our Lady is there in the chapel, but the chapel is closing. It's a shame you won't take her. She says, because the eyes of this statue are the most beautiful I've ever seen. And I thought, that's her.
Noreen agreed to rescue the statue and had it transported to her home in Longmeadow. With Father Riley's approval, the statue was unveiled to the parish at a special Mass on September 8, 2005, the Feast of the Nativity of the Blessed Virgin Mary. A gold plate at the bottom of the statue got her attention, in memory of William A. Reith, Jr., killed in action May 24, 1945. Noreen conducted research and discovered that William Billy Reith from Washington, D.C. had 5 older sisters, one of whom was Dorothy, a daughter of charity who lived in the Syracuse convent. Noreen believes Sister Dorothy placed the name on the statue in memory of her younger brother. 28-year-old First Lieutenant William Reith was a flight engineer on a B-29 Super Fortress with the 62nd Squadron, 39th Bomber Group. On May 24, 1945, the 39th, with 11 crew members, flew its first devastating fire raid on Tokyo.
They were shot down in the Bay of Tokyo, and there were 2 men that were able to bail out.
Reith and his crewmates were listed as missing in action. Their bodies were never recovered. Reith was posthumously awarded the Purple Heart and Air Medal. Today he is remembered in Hawaii's Punch Bowl in the Court of the Missing. A Mass has been celebrated for the past 2 decades at St. Mary's around May 24th, first in honor of Reith and later his crewmates.
And I just wanted to keep his memory alive, and then with him, all the other men and what happened that day. And they had families, they had siblings, they had their lives, and we never want to forget them as Americans.
The chapel is a quiet, peaceful place of reflection that attracts people from the parish and others who have left prayer cards, photos, and mementos of loved ones who have passed in a special book.
I think she draws people in and then presents them to her son eventually. It's through Mary to Jesus. And I think she's like a gateway that way.
Father C.J. Waiteka spoke on what he has witnessed over the years celebrating the morning Mass.
I see them coming in, and they go in there, they spend a few moments in prayer, and then they leave. And it's just a constant flow of people throughout the day, which makes me realize that, hey, this is a pretty popular little chapel.
For Father CJ, whose brother and father were in the military, it's important that we honor Reith and all those who served. When the Mary Immaculate statue was initially dedicated in 2005, Noreen was asked by Father Riley to speak. On the way home, Noreen's two sons, then ages 11 and 13, had something to say.
They hadn't talked, and Patrick said, she smiled at me. Matthew said, she smiled at me too. And I said, oh. And they both in unison said, it was the part when Father Riley was singing happy birthday to her, and at the end he said, and we won't ask how old she is. And they both said her lips went up in a smile and went right back down.
On September 8th, the Feast of the Nativity of Mary, the parish celebrated the 20th year the statue of Mary was welcomed into the church, as well as the 80th anniversary of the end of World War II. Noreen spoke on how the chapel, statue of Mary, and Reith intertwined. In a moving ceremony, she read the names of Lieutenant Reith and each of his crewmates who perished, mentioning each by name, rank, and home state. Noreen Toloski's husband, Mark, lit a candle as each man's name was recalled.
First Lieutenant Jack B. Covington, Navigator, Texas.
Two Air Force veterans spoke on why they attended the Mass. Earl Godfrey's military family goes back to the Revolutionary War.
To honor the memory of those who were lost and those who were injured, those who never recovered from the wounds of war. It's important. It's important not to forget them and to keep faith with that principle.
Continuity of service across the generations is very important. My dad served in World War II, so there's a blue line running through our path in the United States military. And it's all about the brotherhood and the sisterhood of service, regardless of era and regardless of level of service.
While St. Mary's prays annually for Lieutenant William Reith, Noreen believes he, in turn, is praying for St. Mary's.
I think he's watching over St. Mary's Parish in Longmeadow, Massachusetts. I do. I think he is.
Noreen has ensured that Lieutenant Reith and his crewmates will always be remembered for the ultimate sacrifice, young lives lost long before their time. For Real to Real, I'm Steve Kiltonic.
And a special thanks to all those who served this Veterans Day, including this guy, Jimmy Stefanik, who proudly served in the Navy on the USS Ross at the end of the Korean War. To my dad and all veterans, we offer our profound thanks. And that's our program for today. Thank you so much for joining us. You can find all of the latest news on the Catholic Church here in Western Massachusetts and around the world by logging on to iobserve.org, your dedicated source for accurate news on the Catholic Church. That's iobserve.org. And before we close out, a quick shout out to Real to Real's very own David Martin, who is currently taking to the stage, appearing in the Theater Guild of Hamden's presentation of Lost in Yonkers. You can see Dave in a performance today at 2 p.m. and again next Friday and Saturday evenings at 7:30 p.m. with a final performance next Sunday at 2 p.m.
When your mother and I had a problem, we always tried to keep it from you boys because we didn't want to worry you.
They will be taking to the stage at the Thornton W. Burgess School in Hamden, and we have ticket information on the calendar page of diospringfield.org. Break a leg, Dave. And I'll see you at this same time again next week for another edition of Real to Real, your window on the world around you. Have a great week.
Real to Real is a production of the Catholic Communications Corporation, funded in part by the annual Catholic Appeal, and the support of you, our faithful viewers.